Welcome to the continued series of Saturday talks on Introduction to Integral Yoga. Today's topic is spirituality and family living. The name of this talk in Telugu and Sanskrit is Adhyatmika Grihasthashramam. So how to lead a spiritual life while being in the family. In the path of Sanatana Dharma, we have 4 stages of life. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. These are the traditional names. Brahmacharya, Grihastha Ashrama they call it. Vanaprastha Ashrama, Sannyasa Ashrama. So what is an ashrama? Ashrama is a place where you seek refuge, ashraya, of the Guru or the God. So the way our culture perceives the different stages of life is that while you go through that, you continue to hang on to God, hang on to Guru, hang on to the Divine. That is how they perceived it. Traditionally, Brahmacharya is probably till about 18 years, 20 years, something like that. 20 to 40, 45 is Grihasthashram. These are all changing, but I'm just giving you a reference point. Then Vanaprastha. What is Vanaprastha? Vana is forest, Prastha is leaving for the forest. So Vanaprastha. You are supposed to detach yourself from the worldly affairs and retire into seclusion, somewhat of a seclusion. Vanaprastha ashrama. And of course there is sannyasa. What is the purpose of, or rather, how are we supposed to lead the first 20 years of life, Brahmacharya? The idea is to concentrate on developing and acquiring knowledge and skills. That was what Brahmacharya was for us. Ekagra chittamuto jnananni sampadinchuta. The idea is to develop focus. Traditionally, colloquially when we see Brahmacharya, we actually only look at continence, not indulging in physical intimacy. But there's much more to that. That was only a small part of it actually. Brahmacharya was about conserving your energy. Why? So that you can concentrate. So that you can develop that ekagrata. Like many things, it is kind of misinterpreted. But there is a reason why they say that also, that conservation of energies would allow all the energies of the being to move upward. And in that process, make your brain and memory very, very sharp. There is no emotional disturbance that your energies are going out. There is no physical indulgence that your energies are... None of that matters. Everything is... And such are the people who accomplish memory feats that we can't match. So for example, the traditional learning process in Sanatana Dharma was not written. You remember? It is all memorization. Vedas were transmitted orally. Upanishads were transmitted orally. They have to be retained orally. Not only their meaning had to be retained, but even every intonation of the swara was to be retained. How is it possible that today we find it difficult to remember 2 passages and they were able to remember thousands of shlokas? 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, many people, including these days, remember from beginning to end. How was it possible? Because all the energy was turned inward. And once you set that benchmark and once you accomplish that milestone, that knowledge remained with you throughout your life. So it was like you're laying a very strong foundation on which the edifice of life was to be built. That was the foundation. In fact, there is an instance from our ashram chronicles that somebody went and asked Kapali Shastriyarji. Kapali Shastriyarji was almost like a saint in his own right. He was staying in the ashram with Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So somebody asked him, those feats of memory, are they even feasible today? At that time, M.P. Panditji was in his 20s or maybe early 30s. So Kapali Shastriyar called him and said, what was the news bulletin today? And M.P. Panditji started with, this is All India Radio, news read by so-and-so till the completion, that 7-minute or 6-minute news bulletin. He was able to recite. And it wasn't as if this happened just after the radio announcement. This happened maybe sometime during the day. And he's recalling something from 7 in the morning. Many people who lived life that was according to the rules of the ashram had these tremendous powers of memory. And we still can understand that it is feasible and possible. We will go a lot in detail with Grihasthashram, but I'll just mention a couple of lines about what, so Grihasthashram meant that you got married and you had children and you raised progeny and all of that. That's good. We will get into the details of that. What is this business of Vanaprastha and Sannyasa? If time permits, we will go into more detail. Basically, Vanaprastha was a period where the entire momentum of Grihasthashrama now needed to slow down. So, unwinding the bonds of Grihastha and starting the preparation for Sannyasa. What it meant was, as a Grihastha, you had to earn a living and you had to support. By the way, these 3 ashramas, all these 4 ashramas were supported by Grihastha ashrama. So as a Grihastha, you supported Brahmacharya, you sent your children to school and you supported the Gurukula. Then as Vanaprastha, when you were withdrawing from life, Grihastha ashrama is the one that supports you. As a sannyasi, when you need to have food, Grihastha ashrama is supposed to support it. So the one stage of life which was the monetary fulcrum for the entire Sanatana Dharma is Grihastha ashrama. So it is very wrong to look down upon married life and family life. In fact, it is the family life and married life that is supposed to support the entire ecosystem of Sanatana Dharma. Now, I have taken different themes of how to culture various aspects of Grihastha ashrama. The first step is in Sanatana Dharma, just as there are these 4 ashramas, when we talk about the purpose of life, they mention 4 aspects of the purpose of life. Chatur Purushartha. Have you heard of it? Purusharthas? But you got the order mixed up. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. But you got the 4. And the idea is that Dharma is the first step towards anything and everything we accept in life. Even today, if you go to any temple and say, this is my Gotra, this is my name, please do some puja, the first thing he'll say is, he'll mention the God, he'll mention the space where you are located, he'll mention the time when you are doing the puja, and at the end of it he'll say Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Chaturvida, Phala, Purushartha, Siddhyartha, which means may you get the benefit of these 4 aspects, which is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So why is the order important? The Grihastha is given the permission to Artha and Kama, earning, which is Dhana and other things, and Kama, fulfillment of your desires. And in desires it means everything. You need a house, very good, that is a part of Kama. You need to raise your children, that is a part of Kama. You need a SUV, that is a part of Kama. Everything is included in that. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Some people point out that if you are able to earn a living, Artha and Kama, as long as they are guided by Dharma, you will reach Moksha. In all of Sanatana Dharma, the most complex, at the same time the most important word is dharma. It is the most easily misunderstood, and in fact, if mother gives me more free time from the infrastructure work of the ashram, I would love to do workshops. I had done a 3-day workshop on dharma and karma for college students in Delhi. 3 days. It was so powerful and so beautiful. Children's lives changed. They were in their 20s, most of them. Their lives changed. Some of them came back after 7 years and thanked the person who organized it, saying it changed the course of my life. Dharma is so important. Someday we will do talks and workshops on dharma. But coming down to a very simple thing, we'll take up the first one, which is culture of honesty in word and action. That can be dharma for us. We need to have a culture of honesty in word and action. We go to schools to talk about spirituality. These are young children, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 16 years. What do we tell them about spirituality? After everything we talk, I just give them one principle. How to practice a spiritual living. Do not do something wrong when you know it is wrong. Simple. Nothing complicated. I don't want to give them shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. I don't want to tell them teaching. When you know something is wrong, just don't do it. Now what happens with children? They tell lies. They know they are telling a lie. And this alone is enough as a practice. Extend it further to a grihastha ashrama. What is the consequence of a lie? And what is the need to tell a lie? If one analyzes it can come, the need to tell a lie can come from fear. It can come from comparison of other people and not feeling confident enough about it. It can be because you want to hide your faults. It can be because of the fear of consequences. It can be many layers. What are the consequences of a lie? It distorts the natural energy flow in our being. I can't say this to children, but I can say this to you. There is a flow of energy that is carrying us through life. Every time we tell a lie or we hide a truth, we create a small eddy and current, and it creates trouble. It invites forces of darkness, it invites forces of mischief and makes a mess in life. Aside from that, a little advanced subject is also that once we grow up, we should remember that ethics and morality is the foundation of spirituality. One cannot use spirituality to override ethics and morality. And this happens. This is a little bit of an advanced subject, but people who are in their 30s and 40s, because they are spiritual, they think they are no longer bound by ethics and morality, which is a very big blunder that I see in many spiritual ecosystems. Your spirituality should add to ethics and morality. It cannot take away, at least for us. Yes, there may be a Siddha Purusha who may not be bound by ethics and morality of a society. But we are bound, in Grihastha Ashrama we are definitely bound by ethics and morality. Then, in Grihastha Ashrama, as we lead our lives in families, either with spouses or with parents or in any other way, with partners, etc., these are all relevant. If you want to bring in spirituality, there is a need for a culture of beauty. We talked about culture of honesty. There is a culture of beauty. The mother's quotation, on the physical plane, it is in beauty that the divine expresses himself. At the level of the overmind, truth is beauty and beauty is truth. So imagine, we just talked about honesty and truth. Now at the physical plane, truth is beauty and beauty is truth. We need to learn to develop that capacity. At the overmental plane, that is the case, but it reflects on the physical plane. Elsewhere, another quotation of the mother, Let beauty be your constant ideal, the beauty of the soul, the beauty of the sentiments, the beauty of thoughts, the beauty of the action, the beauty in work, so that nothing comes out of your hands which is not an expression of pure and harmonious beauty. This is what Mother says. I'm sorry to say, this is an element that is pervasively missing in South Indian households. Somehow we missed it. And when I say South Indian households, I'm not pointing fingers at others, I'm pointing at my own family, my own close. Somewhere we have lost that sense of beauty. There is an economic reason for it, but now is the time for correction, that we need to take care of it. Children, one can buy a 10 crore villa, but one cannot teach children how to keep their books in order, how to keep their clothes in order, how to keep their pens and pencils in the right place. Beautiful big villa. What do the children do? It is pervasively messy. This is where we as parents and we need to take care of things. Can we help children appreciate beauty? Can we make them not an artist by training, but an artist at heart? Yes, you teach kuchipudi, you teach violin, all that is good. But that is supposed to evoke something in the depth of the heart. That is somehow supposed to create a vibration of beauty in and around. Beauty of speech. Beauty of just walking. When we walk, can we walk gracefully? Can we speak? Can we speak beautifully? All these matter if we want to be spiritual people. If we are harsh to each other, then how is beauty taking place there? If children are seeing parents arguing, how can they talk about a beautiful life? All these become a part of a culture of beauty. Another aspect is culture of willpower/weakness. Because most of us, we keep complaining, my willpower is not strong, my willpower is not strong. Many adults say that. But as children, can we teach them the culture of willpower? There is a will of knowledge, there is a will of life, there is a will of emotions, there is a will acting in every part of our nature. There is a will of knowledge, there is a will of life, there is a will of emotion, a will acting in every part of our nature. It is a tapas of willpower. And then the question comes, I don't have adequate willpower. How do I generate willpower? How do I have a stronger willpower? Mother says, it's similar to doing exercises and developing muscles. You can manage to create willpower in yourself. How do we begin? With small things. Let us say you want to spend half an hour reading something spiritual every day. Just set a deadline. For 10 days, every day I will do it. Then for 20 days, then for 40 days. Age is not a barrier for developing willpower. There are studies conducted about willpower. Apparently, willpower is like an energy resource. Every day we get up in the morning, we have a certain reservoir of willpower. As we go through the day, as we use it up, by the end of the day, in the evening or at night, we have weaker willpower. This is what scientific studies have shown. So if you have to take important decisions, if you want to take important resolutions, keep it towards the first half of the day when you are still stronger inside. And often when we go to pubs and have drinks, when do we do it? Towards the end of the day, when our willpower is the most weak. So that leads to other consequences naturally. So we have to be careful about these aspects. In Katha Upanishad, there is a Samvada of Yama and Nachiketa. You can look it up in detail later. There is a very simple, beautiful and very important point made. Nachiketa is a young boy who goes to Yama and there is a lot of discussion, and then he tells Yama, help me understand the truth. And Yama gives many things as a part of it. One of the things he says is, there are two alternative paths before us in the world. One is the path of good, the other is the path of the pleasant. The first, though difficult, leads to the knowledge of the highest truth. The other, though appearing very pleasant, is fleeting, and when an apparently pleasurable experience passes, it is inevitably going to cause pain. So, the path of the good and the path of the pleasant. Yama says, the wise choose that which is good, and the ignorant choose that which is pleasant. Give me a minute. It reminds me of a small shloka a friend of mine shared with me from Yoga Vasishtha. It is very pertinent to this. How to develop willpower is something that Rama asks Vasishtha, and he gives an answer. He says, Shanaihi lalayet chitta balakam paurushena prayatnena. Slowly, lalayet chitta balakam. Slowly, enchant the infant of your consciousness, the infant of your willpower. Slowly. How? By continuous effort. Shanaihi, lalayet chitta balakam. The idea, I give another example of how to develop willpower. So willpower is essentially your higher consciousness trying to culture your lower consciousness. The lower consciousness of desire, of wanting some things, wanting to indulge, whatever, all of these things, even, it's nothing big. You want to sleep a little late in winter months. Even that is your nature not listening to you. Prakriti that we inherit today comes to us from literally many lives. It has its own patterns, it has its own samskaras and vasanas, they call it in traditional life. And it has momentum of many lives. So it is like a big 600-pound gorilla. Now you are trying to control this 600-pound gorilla by saying, listen, you should get up at 4:30 and meditate. It won't listen to you. And you can't pull it. It's 600 pounds, it will just sit on you. What do? Then you give it a banana. You make it your friend. And then you give it another banana. And then you say, let's go this way, I'll give you one more banana. This is how you kind of control your Prakriti and make it align with you. So how does it relate to 4:30 meditation? You don't get up at 4:30 the first day. You get up at 5:30. You get up at 6. If you normally get up at 7, you get up at 5:30. Slowly teach it, maybe 6. And then 5:30. And then 5:15. Then go and make it to 4:30. Then the body will adjust. Then you will unexpectedly go on a trip somewhere, or somebody comes at night, or something gets interrupted. Again start at 5:30. Again work on it. This is how we work on our Prakriti. It doesn't change overnight, but it definitely changes over the years, provided you keep consistency. It is important in Grihastha Ashrama to have this culture of willpower. It is very necessary. When it comes to children, teach them the same thing. First day, don't coerce them. Make it enjoyable, make it entertaining. Slowly, they will come around and they will listen. Then there is a culture of the mind. Most of us our minds in their quality do not change much between 35 and 75. They don't change much. It's an incremental improvement unless you're working on it. Otherwise, an individual is more or less socially, emotionally, mentally fully formed at 35 and that's it, done and dusted. Aise mar jayega, kuch nahi hoga uska. There will be incremental changes because he will also learn from society and all of these things, and many times you learn the wrong things also. When you come to spirituality, you have to work on the quality of the mind. There is I think I mentioned this in one of the earlier talks also. On Netflix there is a series of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was first a bodybuilder, then a movie actor, and then a politician, all successful. And you know what he says? He says, I sculpted the body, but I also sculpted the mind. I changed the way to think continuously so that I could go to the next level. Because the way you think as a bodybuilder is different than the way you think as an actor and the way you think as a politician. He said, I kept on working on changing my mind, sculpting my mind. Swami Vivekananda has said that the difference between a successful person and an average person is the degree of concentration. You know what is the human attention span today? Any of you have come across any statistics?
15 minutes. 15 minutes.
The human attention span on any given thing is 8 seconds. Any given thing. After that it keeps shifting. And it's come down. Earlier it used to be 12 seconds just 10 years ago. It's declining with all the gadgets. Today goldfish has better attention span than humans. That is the unfortunate thing. Again, we have to develop our capacity to work on it. The restlessness between notifications of the mobile phone, some advertisements. An average human is exposed to thousands of advertisements today. Whether you notice it or not is the second thing. You open a web page, you have 10. You open an app, you have apps. You are going in the car, you have advertisements, thousands, and they're all registering in the subconscious, even if we are not conscious about it. And this is where we have to develop a capacity and culture of mental silence. Silence is the foundation of spiritual experience. All experiences come in silence, but they do not come pell-mell in the crowd at the beginning. The inner silence and peace have to be established first. That is what Sri Aurobindo says. So there is a culture of the mind, meditations, how we do it. The word meditation is like the word physical exercise. It can mean 1,000 different things. Somebody will do cardio, somebody will do yoga, somebody will do aerobics, somebody will do something else. There are 1,000 ways of meditating. It all depends on what we want our mind to be, in which direction we want to go. One of the simplest and the oldest methods of improving concentration is you put a candle and you stare at the light in a dark room. This is called tratak. Just keep staring at it and delay the blinking process as long as possible. Some people can stare for 3 minutes, water may be coming out, but they don't. What happens with that is suddenly your entire being becomes like a laser. And these people who practice this as a part of Hatha Yoga, they eventually move to Surya Tratak. They actually stare at the sun without blinking, and it doesn't hurt their eyes. Their capacity of concentration is altogether something else. In Sri Aurobindo's path, we start by simple meditation techniques. First, trying to understand how to make our mind a little more silent, not completely, but a little more silent. Then understand the ranges of consciousness, higher consciousness, widening, heightening and deepening. These are the meditations we do. We also focus not as much on thoughtlessness, but we focus on developing our own sense of presence. We develop a sense, Aham Brahmasmi, that I am the universe comes later. First, Aham Asmi, I exist and I am. Because what happens is, whenever we sit anywhere, our mind keeps drifting and our sense of immediate presence is lost. We are 1,000 miles away. And that's going on at 63,000 thoughts per day. A thought every other second. So we lose our own sense of presence. So what we do in Sri Aurobindo's yoga is first develop a sense of your own presence. Let the mind think a little bit, it's okay. We are not stopping thoughts, but we are trying to establish our own presence, our own sense of awareness. And that is the first step towards spiritual development. When one develops our own sense of presence, then you create your own spiritual atmosphere around you. And when you create your own spiritual vibrations in the atmosphere around you, the outer world does not impact you with the same intensity anymore. Otherwise, one punch and we are rocked off. We are also a part of Prakriti. Here, one punch comes, there is an aura of silence and peace that absorbs that punch, and you still retain your center of gravity. You don't drift. It impacts you, but it doesn't dislodge you. So this is how we work in Sri Aurobindo's yoga on the mental culture and the sense of our own presence. Another aspect is a culture of need versus want. We all know this, but we don't practice it enough. And they say, in this world there is enough for everyone's need, but there isn't enough for even a few people's greed. And that is what is happening. Today we produce enough food to make sure everybody gets food, the 7 billion people, yet we have 1 billion people starving. We have, if you look at the wealth distribution, you find that a very, very skewed proportion, something like 10% own 90%, 1% own like 60%, some very, very vague statistics which are confounding. Why? Somewhere along the way, when we open to lower forces of the universe, greed and accumulation is a lower force of the universe. It is what we call, it is not even Asuric Prakriti. It is Paisachic Prakriti. See, when we come to levels, Sri Aurobindo's whole yoga is about levels of consciousness. And even in the negative levels of consciousness, he describes it very beautifully. An Asura is somebody who has a lot of knowledge and magnanimity, and he has bigness. And who have turned to him, he will take care of them. Then comes Rakshasa. Rakshasa is one who lives mostly in his own ego and his own satisfaction, and others' pain and suffering don't matter to him. Then you come to the level of Pisacha. Pisacha is full of perversions. Asura is not perversions. Pisacha is full of perversions, very dark. And one of these attributes of Pisacha is this greedy accumulation. So when you see today politicians around us and around the world, not just in Hyderabad, they accumulate more wealth than what one can logically understand what to do with. What will you do beyond 10,000 crores? Beyond 1,000 crores, what do you really do? Beyond 10,000 crores, what do you really do? How much? There is a limit to how much a generation can consume. There is a limit to how much 10 generations can consume. But they have lost that sense of perspective. For them, accumulation for the sake of accumulation, that is Paisachic. And this can apply to wealth, it can also apply to many other things. It can apply to wealth, it can apply to lust, it can apply to real estate, it can apply to material possessions, it can apply to many things. That is where, at every step, need versus want has to be assessed. We have to understand that everything comes with a cost. When you look at spiritual life, everything comes with a cost. So for example, one of my friends, he is a donor to our building also. Many years he donated several lakhs of rupees. He is very close to the Kanchi Shankaracharya. And he keeps going there and spending months there. And he's a grihastha, he's not a sannyasi. One day he was talking to one of the people in the Kanchi ashram several years ago, and by chance he mentioned, I have 600 contacts in my mobile. He said, oh my God, how do you have peace of mind? Now how many contacts do we have? I have over 1,000 plus with Google taking all email addresses, converting them to contacts. Everything comes at a cost. There is an optimum level where The opulence degrades your life. It doesn't add to your life. All of us have to define that point. Beyond the point, wealth will start consuming you. You will not consume wealth. It will become an obsessive-compulsive disorder for accumulation or enjoyment. We have to figure out, is it a need or is it a want? There's nothing wrong in being luxurious, by the way. There's nothing wrong in having a Rolex watch, nothing wrong in having a beautiful cross pen, nothing wrong in driving a Mercedes coupe, nothing wrong. In our yoga, it is permitted. Mother says, enjoy it, but enjoy it to the point where it serves a certain purpose. We can live in AC rooms, we can enjoy a good drive, we can enjoy good food, nothing wrong. Our yoga is not a yoga of turning our back upon the world to starvation, to discomfort, to sleeping under the trees, no. Wearing rubbish clothes, no. In fact, Mother explicitly prohibits all of that. No torn clothes, no bad food, nothing. You have to live properly, but we have to develop this sense of optimum existence. One of my friends, they run a kind of a resort kind of a thing, and his son was in the 10th grade or maybe 7th grade, something like that, and goes to a very expensive school. And his son said, Papa, all of my friends, many of them have BMWs, Mercedes, Porsches. Why do we drive all these, normal cars? I want a good car. And my friend also is somebody who is very on the spiritual path. He's in the Tibetan path. And he's able to spend a lot of time at home and with his child. So he told him, he said, see, we can buy a Mercedes-Benz. There's absolutely no problem. We can buy a BMW. But that means I will have to earn a little more, which means I will spend less time with you. Which means I will be running around and being away from home more often. Now you make a choice. Do you want me to go with you in the morning walk? Do you want me to come and pick you up from the school? Do you want me to take you on these vacations? Because everything, these are the ways in the Grihastha life we can reach out to our children, explain the trade-offs, because then we are not only telling them our reality, we are actually training them for life more correctly. Otherwise, we are not training them for life more correctly, because they will see us going from 1 to 10 and they will want to go from 10 to 100, and the next generation wants to go from 100 to 1000. So that is something we have to understand, the culture of need and want. Then there is a culture of equanimity. In this whole business of Gita, in the second chapter, Sri Krishna, on one side, first chapter is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna says, I don't want to fight this silly war, I don't want to kill my own people, I don't want to destabilize the society, all of these things. And then Sri Krishna says, no, there are people who can do great actions without losing their balance. There are people who can walk in this society without getting into emotional turbulence. And he says, really? Tell me, who are these people? How do they stand? How do they walk? Sthita prajna, equanimity. The sadhak has to keep his quietude and faith and equanimity in all conditions, even when the higher consciousness and experience are not there. Equanimity, samatha, is one of the first qualities of supermen, according to Mother. How do we develop equanimity? Because sitting here, we'll all have a lot of equanimity. When you go home, your mother says something you don't want to do, or your brother or your son, teenagers in particular. Having teenagers at home is like having a live orchestra. Life is never predictable. Some of our friends are going through this. Sri Aurobindo gives us some guidelines. It's not possible to become equanimous, of course, in a day. But there are principles of stoicism. Don't express your outbursts. Try to hold on to them and evaluate them the next day or the day after the wave has passed. Practically speaking, I know some people, they have a 20-minute rule. When they get upset, they try not to engage on that subject for 20 minutes. Either you move away from that person, or you go for a walk, or you watch television, or you listen to music, but don't debate on that subject for 20 minutes. Try to give it some time and space. Indians and Italians are known for their very over-expressive way of living, and we have to learn to kind of do that. Stoicism is basically trying not to express it then and there. Hold on to it. Develop a distance between that and you. And Sri Aurobindo also uses in essays on the Gita, he talks about these aspects. The need for equanimity, and in the Sita Prajna chapter he talks about stoicism, he talks about philosophical indifference. What is this word, philosophical indifference? When a particular matter bothers you really, I would implement philosophical indifference in this way. Expand the time and space quotient. In 10 years from now, will this topic really matter to me? Will it hurt me as much? Somebody has said something, I'm very aggrieved. How can somebody say like that? I have done so much for them, I have done this, I have done that. How can you repay me like this? When it happens in the work environment, and I can tell you this from practical experience, 10 years later you won't even remember the name of the person with whom you had that tiff. Life has moved on. Why take it so seriously? If you want, another example I give to people is, today is 6th of January. Assuming it's not your birthday or something, can you tell me what you did on 6th of January on 2023? 6th of January 2022, 6th of January 2021, we really don't even remember. Even though we get so upset about something on a particular day, you won't even remember what happens in life. Most of the time in the whole year, you may remember only 10 days. In the whole year, you may only remember 5 days. Trust me, it's not that important. Expand the time and space quotient. Space quotient as in more of the, if it's a work-related thing, if you're handling 10 projects, 5 projects, you've handled 50 projects in your life, is this one project going to really matter? Whether it succeeds or fails. In the overall context of the world, how big is this problem? Most of our problems are inconsequential to the world. Whether we exist or not is inconsequential to the world. When you expand the space quotient, we are nothing. Think of the galaxies that are floating around, think of Milky Way, think of Sun, think of Earth, and on that Earth, think of the 6 feet that you occupy. Does it really matter? There's a beautiful spiral galaxy photo. I used to have it as my desktop image. When I used to get angry, I would look at that. How much of an impact is it going to have on this space? Nothing. So it doesn't matter, let go. These are all practical things we need to live as spiritual people. How much ever it hurts, even if it makes you cry. Sometimes when you pent up too much, you feel like crying. Cry, it's no big deal. Nothing's going to change. Move on. So the culture of equanimity is one of the most important ones for our whole life. There are 2 others I'll quickly touch upon, and then I'll skip some of them, and then we'll try to see. There are 3 others actually. Okay, we'll try. Develop a culture of an understanding of karma. What is the karma siddhanta? One of the reasons our country is in this awful state that it is because we as Hindus have mastered the art of praying to God but forgetting about the philosophy. We have gone into karma, we have forgotten the jnana. We do our temples, we do our pujas, we do everything, but we have forgotten the jnana of this civilization. One of the most important foundations of Sanatana Dharma is the theory of karma. Culture of karma. Again, this is something that ideally we should have a retreat or workshop on because it is such a profound subject. What Sanatana Dharma says about karma, I'll simplify it for you. I'll just give you an imagery and that imagery will stay with you. It's very simple. Think of a godown somewhere in the space with your name written on it. It's a big warehouse. It's your name written on it. Across lives, that godown is going to be there. That godown has black bags and white bags. Those are your karma. Some very good, some very not so good. Not so very good. This is called Sanchita Karma. This is going to be there forever, for eternity. This is the first part you should know. When we come down into this life, we pick a few white and few black bags and we come into this life. Okay, so we bring down a part of our accumulated karma to exhaust in this life. This is called prarabdha. And unfortunately in Telugu, when you say prarabdha, you normally do this prarabdha. Only negative. No. Prarabdha can be positive, prarabdha can be negative. It is both most of the time. Many people have a balanced life. You can't accumulate. Most people don't bring all white bags or all black bags. It doesn't work like that. You bring a few goodies, a few toughies. There's no choice. That is prarabdha. Now, as we go through life, we are using up that. We go through some difficulties, we go through things. But as we are living through this life, we also hurt people, we do a few naughty things, we do all of that. These bags are now getting filled up so that they can be put back into the godown. So 3 parts. 1, the warehouse. 2, what we bring down. And 3, what we put back. It's called Agami Karma. You don't have to know the names as long as you know the concept. Every misdeed we do, every perceived hurt we cause, observe that phrase, perceived hurt. Not even real hurt. You may not be intending to hurt. But if you hurt that person and that person feels it's because of you that he got hurt, he or she got hurt, that also accumulates into the bag. This is the dangerous part of karma. Perceived hurt. I get shot by a bullet from somewhere. I look at somebody, he's holding a gun. The bullet may have come from somebody else. I hold him responsible for my death and I die. That poor chap is in trouble. Whether I know it or not, whether I like it or not, some portion of the trouble. If he directly shoots me and I know it is, then it's an intense one. Karma operates in many subtle ways. The bottom line is this. When we live our life spiritually, let us acknowledge that there are consequences to our actions. Let us live with an awareness that even if we have power and we make other people suffer and they can't do anything to us today, that is going to come back and haunt me at some point in my journey. And many times if I extract a lot of wealth or money or properties or any of that through a lot of misery, that wealth and that entire property, whatever, it has a vibration of that misery, and whoever touches it will be miserable sooner or later. Whether it is my child, whether it is my grandchild, whether it is my spouse, the debt of blood has to be paid. It is inevitable. That is also part of the theory of karma. Sometimes it can go through accidents, sometimes it can go through skin diseases, sometimes it can go through broken marriages, sometimes it can go through a lot of suffering. It can be through 1,000 different ways, unpleasant ways that we don't have to go through every one of them. So we have to keep in mind that our actions have consequences, and whatever we do, let us not knowingly err on the negative side. At most, you can say, okay, fine, you're fighting with me for this business that you and I built together, you take it. End of story. Just be done with it, because you know that balance will be there somewhere in the ecosystem. Even if the other person is cheated. So many people we come across, business dealings, partners have cheated. Don't get into the point of such wrangling and mess that because he did that, I did this, there's no end to that karmic equation. Better to dissolve it, offer it to the divine, say, okay, whatever it is not for my prapti, I will leave it. Earning money is another big part. And what is the culture? Chapter 4, the small book, The Mother. Read it 5 times. That is my suggestion. Learn It is a small book. Some of you know the chapter. I can pass it on to you. It is a very beautiful description of what is money. Money, Mother says, is a universal force. What is a universal force? Air is a universal force. Sunlight is a universal force. Panchabhutas are universal forces. But what do we do? Do we say my air? Do we say my light? Do we say my water and accumulate gallons and gallons of it in underground tanks in my house? No. I have learned to use those universal forces in a very meaningful way. But wealth, it has an asuric tinge. We want to grab and grab and grab. We want to acquire meaninglessly. We need to develop a capacity of detachment for wealth also, that it is meant for a purpose. Wealth is only, one of the Nobel laureates, I forget his name, British Nobel laureate. He said, wealth I found can only give comfort and security, nothing more than that. Wealth can give you comfort and security, nothing more than that. Beyond a point, it is meaningless. Many people know how to earn and how to accumulate. Few people know how to give. In fact, you will have the capacity to give only if your soul has the blessing in your life. I asked this once. I asked a spiritual mentor of mine. I said, why is it that I have people giving me something as little as 250 rupees every month for the ashram, because that person can only afford that much. And yet I have people who are worth hundreds of crores who don't even want to sign a 5 lakh check or a lakhs check. He said that is because they do not yet have the blessing of this at the soul level to give. They are still entangled in that karmic energy. And I say this, and sometimes I irritate people when I say this, particularly at the end of life, many people have a lot of accumulated assets and they have children. Normally what they do is, even though they accept a guru and even though they accept a spiritual path, they give 99% to the children and 1% to the spiritual path. Just understand that 99% of your karmic equation will have a season 2 and season 3 in the coming lives, where 1% mother will be trying to help you. Because wealth represents your life's accumulated karmic energy. Whoever you give it to, you are entangling yourself karmically with that. In this context, while I seem critical, I must also tell you a beautiful shining example of an uncle, whom I can call uncle, 80 plus, in North India, where comes from very wealthy, well-to-do, he's built his wealth, worked in very senior positions, and he bought a property worth several crores and opened Sri Aurobindo Society Center in his location. Many people asked, how come so many crores? He says, listen, I have educated my children, I have got them married off, I have given them whatever wealth I should give them. They are self-sufficient and they are earning very well, they are also well-to-do in society. No, my wealth doesn't need to go to them. What will I do making richer, even more richer? For me, I have accepted a guru. I am already too late. I only found Mother in Sri Aurobindo in the late 60s. I want to do as much as possible for them. Crores. He brought a beautiful plot. He set up an entire building. And next, the plot next to him became available. Again bought that. And then he established relics there. And look at his aspiration. It was one of the last relics given from the Sri Aurobindo ashram. One of the very last. They were not giving relics anymore. They made an exception for it. And today, he has a beautiful ashram that he has set up. Because he had a very clear vision, a logical vision that, listen, I have taken care of my family responsibilities. Now I need to hurry up on the spiritual path. I want to establish more and more of whatever I can do, seva to the Mother in Sri Aurobindo. Such clarity, when it is there, automatically the soul evolution will happen. Because now you have tied your karmic energies to Mother in Sri Aurobindo, your Guru. Right? So that is the culture of earning. There is an entire section on children, which actually is an integral part of the talk on family living and spirituality. But here, I have an audience where Some of you don't have children, and the others who do have grown-up children. So the upbringing of children in a spiritual way is not perhaps directly relevant. So I will take the liberty of skipping it right now. We will take up another time. Maybe, bringing up children in the spiritual way or something. We'll take up a separate topic and we will discuss. I'll just read the famous lines of Khalil Gibran. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. Very powerful, so beautiful. Spiritual parenting, there is an entire section on it. We will take it up another time. The only thing I will remind you is this. Grihastha has the responsibility of supporting all other aspects of society. That is the job given to us. Let us try to remember that. Let us try to remember that giving wealth to spiritual causes only comes when there is a blessing on the soul. And also remember that whatever we give entangles us to whomever we give to karmically. So let us be responsible in that aspect. And let us pray to the Mother and Sri Aurobindo that they guide us on this path of family living in a spiritual way. So we'll just concentrate for a few minutes silently. Om Namo Bhagavate